Hi, I'm Peter Lloyd. Welcome to the Small Shed. This Saturday it's definitely shopping all the way. Now, when we moved into our house, it was big enough for us. It was bigger than the previous house, but over time we decided that we wanted to extend it. And about 4 or 5 years after we moved in, I decided to build another bedroom and a bathroom over the garage, and then wrap around the back of the house, extend the kitchen, and put an ensuite in our bedroom. And at the time we have a do-it-yourself store down just round the corner from where we live, and at the time that was operated by, I think it was Sanford's, and at that stage, which would probably be about early to mid 80s, they were bought out by Texas Home Care and had a fairly substantial sale on that went on over a period of weeks, and as the time rolled on the discounts got bigger and bigger, and I bought an awful lot of materials for the extension through there, and some tools, things like that. And probably then, fast forward maybe 5 years, I'm not sure, Texas Home Care got taken over, and that again thing happened yet again. Everything got sold off cheap, different discounts, and I bought bits and pieces for still finishing off the extension and other projects. And indeed, I think it's fair to say that the outlet on the bung on the water butt that I did in one of the early videos, I think that was a Texas Home Care purchase from probably late 80s that stood around in the garage ever since, but the discounts were such that it was worth buying things. Now, if we fast forward yet another 30 years perhaps now, Texas were taken over by Homebase. Homebase then got taken over by Bunnings of Australia, and there was a lot of things sold off in that time, and that lasted about, I think it's been about 9 months or a year at the most. Bunnings have not made a success of it. They hadn't really read the market properly. They didn't really understand the British do-it-yourself market, I don't think, and it's led to a lot of closures of branches of Homebase. They've bought the company back for £1, and they're not doing that brilliantly at the moment. And as a result of the rationalisations that always happen with this sort of thing, they're closing down our Homebase. So once again, the same thing is happening, and there are a lot of discounts on things to be had. So I thought I'd get in the car and go off down there and see what was to be had, because at the time I was starting to work on the play area equipment design, and so I thought I'd go and see if I could buy some CLS timber and some decking and things like that. Now, as you'll see, there's a very short trip down to the local Homebase. It's not an outlet I've been using over the last few years much, because they were overpriced. It was a very dark and gloomy shop, and I can see why they're closing this one. There's one about 4 miles away in both north and south directions from me, so it's no great surprise to see this one going. It's just, say, a very short drive up to the top of our estate, down the road, round a roundabout, and there is the new development that contains the Homebase. Quite what's going to replace it we don't know as yet, but I doubt very much if it'll be a do-it-yourself place anymore, because there are one or two very large ones not that far away. And as you can see, even very early on, this car park's normally empty, and it was soon full. And there were a range of discounts on offer at the start, 50% off fixings and 20% off timber. So I went and got some CLS to start with. I think I bought about 19 or 20 lengths, which was has come in very useful. I've had to buy very little else for this job. And then out in the garden area, I'd previously seen some decking timbers that were relatively cheap, and which again I got a rough idea of how many I wanted, so I got them while the chance was there to get about 20% off or so. I think that was about the reduction at that point, but even so it was still worth the visit. 25%, sorry. Now if we fast forward about 2 or 3 weeks, things start to get a bit more hectic. The stock at Homebase tends to run down, but the prices drop and drop and drop, and you start to get the real bargains coming that although there's a limited selection, there are some things that are worth having. And one of the things I'd forgotten was that when I last went and bought a drill and a driver set, I think it was when Bunnings actually took over Homebase, and they had some sales on then that they'd got things at fairly stupid prices, and I replaced my Makita drill and driver set with a cheap Guild drill and driver. That was done on a whim because I think they were only about 35 or 40 pounds for the pair, and I bought the little mouse sander for, I think it was 8 or 9 pounds, something like that. So that was previous bargains. These little drill driver sets were a revelation because I'd not used anything with lithium batteries before, and I was used to having to charge up the Makita every 5 or 10 minutes, and their batteries were getting bad anyway, and the cost of replacing batteries is almost as much as buying a new drill driver and set with a battery and a charger, so it wasn't really worth doing a lot, or I couldn't afford to do a lot at that point. But they have pretty much built this shed. They worked very hard. I had a little bit of trouble with the driver when I thought it was on its way out, but it only needed an oil, and in fact they're still good as new as far as I'm concerned, except you may have noticed in a lot of the videos the chuck on the drill I think is starting to slip, and it's quite difficult to get it to lock onto a drill. So when I was down there the other day, I thought it was probably time to have a look at doing a bit of an upgrade. Those will go into my tool bag just to go out and about with me and get knocked around as they have been. They've been brilliant for me, but it's time for a replacement. So we had a bit of a shop the other day. We've got a new impact driver. These are by now down to 40% off, so they were coming in at far more respectable prices. I can get them out anyway. There we go. So that's the drill. A little bit of a tag on it to stop them getting interfered with. The beauty of these is that if I'm lucky, the powers that be might not even spot the fact that I've got a new drill and driver, because they look pretty much the same. So that's the driver. I did notice afterwards that they had got a brushless one, which I probably in hindsight should have gone with, but in all honesty I've gone long enough with that one that's a brushed one, and it's done me well enough, so I can't see it being a major problem long term. Really, ultimately I'd like to get some decent kit, but this will do for the moment. A small charger there. on the battery, the one thing they hadn't got was a lot of batteries. They obviously went early on when they were doing 20% off of them. So I will probably have to get some more batteries, although again I found with the Guild ones that they last so long, it's not quite the issue that it used to be. So there's a driver and a drill and a charger. That's a 1.5 watt, sorry, 1.5 amp hour battery. Again, I didn't want a particularly big one. They've got one with I think a 2 or 2.5, but it just puts weight on the bottom end of it. But it sounds a lot nicer than the Guild. Yeah, it's already sounding better than the other one does. So, but other than that, it's pretty similar. So that's the driver. And then we thought we'd ought to get a drill because, as I said, this is probably the only thing I really needed. But you always got to take these things when they come and look to the long term. So there's a driver there and the drill here. The drill itself is bare. Again, I haven't got a set with. But this one is brushless, so this is the first of any of the tools I've got, I think, that's got a brushless motor in it. Let's see how that performs. But in all honesty, these things tend to be like modern cars. You don't get bad ones, they're just all pretty much the same. Oh, that's nice. Speed control. Hammer action, 2-speed. Looks like it might be a problem. Oh no, it's gone. Slow drive, reverse, little light on the bottom. Yeah, that's quite nice. And then of course I thought I needed another battery, so I bought one with a charger because it was as cheap. I did look up the cost of batteries, and in all honesty, a lithium 18-volt battery for, I think it was about 25 quid or something with the charger, and that's a fast charger as well, I think. So that's we'll go with it. So we've got a couple of batteries, so they've each got a battery. And then I thought it was time I got onto a random orbital, which I haven't in the past used. And again, everybody reckons they're the thing to have. So I thought I'd give that a try rather than the little palm routers, palm sanders I've been using. That's got a little dust bag on it. Works nicely. That's yeah, just need a pad saver on there and that will be ready for action. Well, I'm sorry there wasn't anything more substantial in the building line on this week's video, but hopefully a lot of these tools and the materials will manifest themselves in future projects. If you like the video, please press like and subscribe. Thanks very much to all the subscribers that have come on board recently, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.